Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing The Town. So you know how these ones go, get all the movie lovers out there that are definitely not watching my reviews. But if you do happen to watch this video, I'll be giving you my overall impressions and grade. Past that, if you've not seen the movie and would like to see it based or not based on my recommendation and thoughts, then you're going to want to shut off the video because there will be spoiler alerts. I had to get my cell phone to read the overview. Because there will be spoilers, we'll be doing plot synopsis and character development, similar movies, major themes, probably not. Major themes in terms of like, is the writing hitting on anything super interesting? I know we've done so many of these, there's not too many new major themes. But reading the overview. So I watched it on Hulu. It was originally released on September 17, 2010, directed by Ben Affleck. Doug McRae, played by Ben Affleck, leads a band of ruthless bank robbers and has no real attachments, except for James, Jeremy Renner, who despite his dangerous temper is like a brother. Everything changes for Doug when James briefly takes a hostage, bank employee Claire Kesey. Learning that she lives in the gang's neighborhood, Doug seeks her out to discover what she knows, and he falls in love. As the romance deepens, he wants out of his criminal life that could threaten Claire. And so again, directed by Ben Affleck, starring Ben Affleck, was nominated for the Best Actor Academy Award, which was yesterday. We've been doing those reactions to that. Again, not much. I went to bed at 8:30, saw like the first one, that was enough for me. So again, obviously I've contributed absolutely nothing to music or to story writing at all. Absolutely not. But it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor in Supporting Role. And so, overall impressions, it had 74% liked it on Metacritic, 6.5 out of 10 on Firm Affinity, whatever that is, 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, and 75% of Google users liked the movie. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Again, I had seen, unlike The Equalizers or whatever one I reviewed yesterday, I forget what movie I reviewed yesterday was, but I had seen like the end of this one, but I really hadn't seen the whole beginning. So there was some new, like, I wasn't just rewatching it to make content. But pretty much every time I watch a movie or TV show now, it's directly to make content about it. But it's a thriller drama and it runs for 2 hours and 4 minutes. So I really enjoyed this one. I thought just the tone and tension developed between the Doug McRae character and Claire Kesey. And the first time I watched it, because I remember seeing like we'll get to the plot synopsis, the last kind of big development of the show. Really thinking on my first time seeing it, again, 80% new, 20% rewatch, but I had seen like the very ending of it, but I didn't know like the relationship development throughout the beginning, so it still felt like more of a new movie for me to watch. But I thought that the tension development between Claire and Doug was really well done. I thought the overall just tone of, again, this bank robbers, it felt gritty, it felt real, it felt authentic. And so I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I'm going to give this one just a flat A. But I thought it was really well done. Again, like the tension between Claire and Doug was really interesting, and I thought developed well. The actual bank robbery, the action plot of the show developed well. And so overall A, well done. So if you've not seen the movie and would like to, I definitely recommend this one. It's a good little action thriller with some good character relationships and characters in general. So now we'll be doing plot synopsis and character development. So the show opens up, you get a little narration from Ben Affleck. They come from Charlestown. No, I did read. I thought I didn't read the whole intro. But they live in Charlestown, Brooklyn, or Boston. Which, as someone who was born and raised his entire life in the Midwest, it's actually kind of hard to hear the Boston accent. In the same way, it's kind of hard. Like if you're not regularly watching an Australian show or a British show, it might be hard just to like catch some of the lines. But it's the same thing with the Boston accent as an American. And so you open up, you get a little narration like, there's more bank robbers from this little town than wherever. And the first scene they do is them robbing a bank. So they seem that they're a sophisticated crew. You have Doug McRae, you have James Coughlin, and then I believe it's, because again, this was in 2010, so again, hard to match up the characters. But there's a 4-man crew, Ben Affleck, Jeremy Renner, I think Desmond Elden was the 22-year-old, there's a 22-year-old, but I couldn't pick out who the fourth crew member was. Albert Glones, I get the whole name, but the heavier set fellow that was also in the crew. So there's 4 crew people four people from Boston that rob banks. So they go to hit a job, and they go in there. They have masks on. They have weapons. They're getting, they're robbing, get everyone on the floor. Telling the bank manager Claire Kesey to open the bank. They know, when the time lock for the thing is. They're trying to, avoid the silent alarm being tripped or whatever. And so, they're robbing a bank. So that goes on for about, 5-10 minutes. James beats Claire is the one who trips the silent alarm, but the bank manager or this other dude presses the silent alarm, and they think it's him, but it was Claire who pressed the button. But they beat this dude decently, or James beats the guy decently, because they're pretty much not supposed to be a violent crew, and you don't really see it too much background. James is certainly violent. The rest of the crew kind of does whatever is necessary. So it's not like they're not super into violence, but they're not super against it. James is certainly not against it. Doug tries to avoid it, but he's certainly with his crew. And so they rob the bank. They get a good amount of money. They trip the silent alarm, so they leave. And then they just go. I think they just go launder that money or whatever. No, I don't think they have a. They don't have a. I think the next job they do is when they have a big police chase. But so they rob the bank. Claire is briefly questioned by the FBI. FBI Adams, who's played by John Hamm. Certainly looks like a familiar face. But so the FBI agents, John Hamm, who's the main FBI dude. You have a local cop who is Dino Ciampa. And he kind of knows, he has some background. And they give history about this place, Charleston, Boston, or wherever. That Doug's father is in prison in the movie for Stephen McRae is in prison, his father, for bank robbery as well. So it's kind of just Doug had played hockey, he got drafted, but then he messed up his chances somehow, and so now he's just robbing banks. And so they do that. Claire gets questioned by FBI Adams. He's like, you don't need a lawyer. You seem innocent, and she is innocent. She wasn't in on it at all. But then, they don't plan to take her. They didn't plan to take hostages. I'm not exactly sure why they take her initially, just to have some leverage. I think it's James's call. But regardless, they just drive her around, blindfold her, tell her to walk till she feels the water. She thinks she's going to walk off a cliff. So it's a very traumatic event for Claire and FBI Adams. Claire's genuinely innocent, and FBI Adams at this time is you have nothing to worry about. So James is definitely wanting to tie up loose ends, meaning to kill her. Doug is no, we don't have to do that. But James had taken her ID so they know where they lives, and she, as the intro said, they know it's right around their neighborhood. So they're just worried about if they recognize the voice or this or that. And so Doug's I'll take this under, I'll take care of it. And so he basically goes to this laundromat. She actually approaches him for just coins or change to do her laundry. And so they kind of strike up a conversation. She breaks down a little bit because of the bank robbery. Doug's over there who robbed the bank. It was him. It was trying to feel her out what she knows, what the FBI said. But basically they start hitting it off. And so they start dating. James doesn't know this, and neither does the rest of the crew. You also have, they're kind of employed or set to do jobs by this guy called the florist, who I believe was Fergus Colm. And then he has this is an Irish group, and he has a bodyguard or enforcer named Rusty. And so, James's sister Krista Coughlin and Doug have an initial relationship. Krista has a kid, but it's not Doug's. But Doug and Krista are definitely boinking at the beginning of the movie, and then he definitely falls deeply in love with Claire Kesey. And so they start dating under those pretexts where Doug's trying to figure out what she knows. She's just looking for a dude and doesn't really know anything. And so the next job they go to hit is they go to rob just an armored car or an armored truck. And so they go to do that. They end up shooting a guard this time, so big police presence, big police chase. They switch a couple vans, they torch the van they were in. They do have the money, but the guard initially take one of the four crew members hostage. That's why he got shot. I believe it's James that shoots him, but they're in masks, so you can't really tell unless you're listening really closely to the voices. But big police chase after that. Cool action sequence. They end up getting away. Albert Glones is the driver, the heavier set fellow. He gets them away and says, "That's how you drive a car." So then they launder that money. And Doug at this point is really breaking away. He's like, he really wants to leave the criminal life after this armored car thing. And so, he's been dating Claire for a while. They've slept together now. But James sees Doug's truck on. Doug and Claire are having lunch out on the street, and James sees his truck, and Claire has gone away to go to the bathroom or something, and Doug is sitting there, and just James comes up and sits down and is like, "What's up, man?" And at this point, Doug has learned that Claire had seen one of James's tattoos. He got a fighting Irish dude on the back of his neck, and so Doug learns that in one of their first initial interactions. And he kind of plays it off like, you should tell the FBI, but, wait, it's your only card or whatever, so this or that. And so Doug kind of plays that off well. But regardless, now they're in this predicament where if Claire sees the tattoo, she's going to instantly recognize that it was their friend group that robbed her. So, and again, this is a big traumatic event for Claire that was the robbery. And so they have a kind of a tense little interaction where Doug is just kind of in this place where it's like, we've got to cover some bases. And as James is getting up to leave, he grabs his neck like, "Brother, see you later." And then afterwards, James is grilling Doug like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to, take care of this, either, kill her or figure out what she knows, and you're dating her now." So James is not happy about that. They fight. They have a brief little fight. James pistol whips Doug a little bit. Doug really puts his foot down and says he's done with the criminal life, and James is like, "No, you're not going to." You get some background where James and Doug at this point have already beaten up somebody because Claire's car had gotten stolen or something. So Doug and James bust in this door and beat him up a little bit, and then they're ready to leave. And then James pulls a gun on this guy and shoots him in the leg a couple times or something, and shows him his face as well. So I'm not exactly sure why, again, showing your face to be the strong guy if you're not gonna whack the dude in a writing script. It's just like, what are we doing here? It's a plot twist, plot loophole. But regardless, that has happened. But you learn that James has killed somebody that was going to kill Doug back in the day, and James had done like 9 years, I believe, for aggravated assault or a lower degree murder or something. But James had killed somebody to protect Doug, and had spent a lengthy time in prison, and he's not going back to jail. Regardless, James tells Doug he is done with or he's not allowed to be done with the criminal organization. Doug puts his foot down firm and goes and tells this Fergus Colm, the florist, and Rusty. You get some more background there because Doug had been throughout the movie sad, or there's a thing where he visits his dad in prison, and he's like, why didn't we go look for Mom? I guess she had ran away from the house and just left him. And so again, the relationship with the mom and the relationship with Claire, like I said, the initial watch through it had great tension for the characterizations and the storyline. But you learn from the florist that Doug's mom had just left and hung herself just down the street, and that his dad didn't have the balls or didn't want to tell him that. And so Fergus, I believe it's the Fergus Colm, again another character I can't recognize, but the florist, the old Irish dude in the movie. And so he's like, Doug tells the florist that he's done, and the florist is like, "I'll clip your balls if you're not done. You have to do this big hit for me." And so Doug is really pushes back, but then at the end he agrees to it because they threaten his new girlfriend Claire, and he's like, "Fine, I'll do it." And so after this meeting, or right around this time, about halfway through the movie, Claire gets. Because she's genuinely oblivious to who Doug is, the FBI pick up on the four-man crew and realize that Claire's quit the job at the bank just haphazardly and has received gifts and has been dating Doug. And so now she's legally has liability. And she was genuinely just oblivious. So she has a big freak out and blames Doug for it, and, as you would expect. So big blow up there. He tries to explain himself a little bit. She's not having any of it, and she just kind of get out. And so the florist has him plan. They have to do this. They're planning to rob, I think, Boston White Sox or Red Sox or one of the Sox stadiums. but it's like somehow the stadium concessions or a big weekend haul from a sports organization. And so it's supposed to be about $4 million. And before, again, Doug reluctantly, does the gig, and he's like, if anything goes wrong, he tells us to the floor. So if anything goes wrong, I'm gonna come back here and kill Rusty and you. Or if anything happens to Claire, but I'll do the job as well. And so they plan the job. They're going to go set it up. The 4-man crew. James tells Doug, he's like, man, if something goes wrong, I'm not going back to prison. Where I'm just going to shoot it out and die in the streets. And so again, this has a real gritty tone and feel to the movie, which I thought did very well for the enjoyment factor. So regardless, they dress up as cops. They go into this place that they actually, there was a 911 call. Some dude, a minor role, lets them into this building somewhere, but into wherever this cash room is at with all of this big sports stadium. And so there's like 4 cops initially. Doug and James are posing as police officers, go in there, and then they're like, someone called in a 911 call, and they kind of pulled guns on each other, but Doug and James are more sturdy with the draw, I guess. But they get the 4 actual cops, they get them they hog tie them, and they take control of the situation that way. Then after that, they know like the names and addresses of the wives of the people in the cash room, so they say they have people at their houses to hurt their families. So the cash room people open up the door and they just take all the money. And so you have Doug and James walking down the street with the money. At the same time, again, the FBI had pressed Krista Coughlin, James's sister, who had been sleeping with Doug, about she gets arrested with like Oxycontin, cocaine, alcohol in her system, and is going to lose custody of her daughter. So it's not directly stated that she tells them what's going on, or even that she knows what's going on in terms of this final robbery, but it's heavily implied that she somehow has information that she's given to FBI Adams to know something's going to happen. That's definitely implied that she knows something's going to happen, but I don't know how she would have the details for the hit. And so, regardless, that happens, and so they're kind of looking like they get away with the money. And there's a big police presence. They go into the other 2, Desmond Eldon and Albert Glones, they're posing as paramedics, so they're going to switch from cops to paramedics and drive away in an ambulance. Regardless, the FBI has a huge police presence outside where they're staging. And so right when James sees that happen, he just starts blasting, got the Tech-9 spraying. And so another big fight action scene that was enjoyable. They throw the police, it's like in a big warehouse area. And so James to see people coming, police officers from a ways away in like a parking lot, and just start shooting at them. But there's like vents or like things, just some entrance or opening where they could throw in a smoke grenade. And so they're shooting it out a little bit. All 4 of them are shooting. They throw in the smoke grenade, and then they get disoriented. And then Desmond Eldon stands up at the wrong time and takes 1 to the brain. So he is now dead. You have basically Albert Glones is like, I'll take 1 for the team and just go die and you guys can get away. So, good job, Albert. But he basically just drives an ambulance out knowing that there's 100, 200 FBI law enforcement presence directly outside. So he drives the car knowing full well that he's going to get blasted. He gets whacked. And then, FBI Adams dude, it basically learns that there was 2 police officers that hit the spot. And so both James and Doug have gone different ways. They both have a decent amount of money on them. Again, I'm not sure if they get the whole $4 million. It's not relevant to the movie or to the development. But they both have money on them, and FBI Adams just spots him on the street, James carrying the money. He's like, "Officer, can you stop?" And then he says Coughlin, and then James turns around and starts spraying again. And so Doug, again, in the same general vicinity, sees that FBI Adams had spotted him, and it's like you can kind of get the nostalgic or the brotherly thing where it's like from before where he said, "I'm going to shoot it out." It's like you can tell Doug is like sad that he's definitely going to watch James die now. And so he shoots it out. He gets hit in the leg with a shotgun. He's behind like a postal service mailbox, trying to duck and cover type of thing, but severely injured. He's like, I'm going to come out, and stands up and is just going to start shooting. Takes one to the brain. So James is now gone, and then Doug, who really wanted to, again, after this job, run away with Claire. And again, the tension between their relationship at this point, it's not sure, because Doug has done her real dirty by not, putting legal liability on her with the FBI. But you're not, at this point in the movie, you're not sure if Claire is going to go help Doug or turn him in for the FBI. And the plot, I thought, was very well developed to have that tension of what is she going to do here. And so Doug calls her and to see like what side she was going to take, because Doug is sitting there with headphones or binoculars looking directly into Claire's place and sees the big police force huddled around her, seeing what's going to happen. And so they have this, they kind of go back and forth. Doug knows that the police are there. He's not sure what Claire is going to do. And then earlier in the movie, she had said her brother had died on a really sunny day. And so they have, 3 minutes of back and forth, and Doug's trying to feel her out. And she was like, yeah, you should come by. It'll be like one of our sunny days. And so at that point, Doug smiles, knowing that Claire has sided with him. So he feels good about himself, that at least he had fallen in love and kind of changed his life a little bit to have a quality relationship or side with Claire. And so the FBI waits for a little bit, and then after 45, 50 minutes, FBI Adams puts "It's a sunny day" was a code for the bad things that are happening here. And so they pack it on up. FBI Adams goes back to his car where they're staking out Claire's house, and there's a handwritten note from Doug saying, "Go fuck yourself." And so Doug gets on a bus and leaves the town. And he had buried, in the last kind of scene is Claire, she has a garden, and when she's gardening, Doug had buried a good, $500,000, $1 million from the hit with her, and it's like, basically, you can do better with this than I can, I'll see you again in this life or in the next, or on this side or the next, or whatever. And so overall, again, it's the tension, the tone, the action sequences, the relationships, which again, to me, the insecurities of relationships, that's what drives me bonkers. But this one I thought was really, really well done, especially with Claire's decision at the end of, is she going to side with Doug or not. So it had a very gritty feel to me, and good action, good characters, good relationship development. And so overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this one, A. So that is my movie review for today, The Town, directed by Ben Affleck. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.